you all for coming and talking and looking at CAN TV Live, where we try to bring the science to the people. I'm with Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, and I also want you all to see that, I want you all to see our little logo there, but I definitely wanted you all to know about that what we do in bringing the science to the people is we talk about it. It still didn't line up. That's okay. We talk about it with Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. As you can see, we are on Facebook. I do have a website now that I do need to update, but the Association of Clinical Trial Services is where we bring in science to the people, and we try to make sure that we are covering all current topics as much as possible. I want you to know that this is a live show, although it may get a rerun, but if you were watching right here, right now, you could call in at 312-738-1060, and guess who's going to answer the phone? That's right, Mr. Charles Patton, our Vice President of Tacts, who is the as we like to call him, the People's Counselor. He will be on deck ready for you to answer or take your answer or questions so I can give you some answers or some insights. How does that work for you? Hopefully it works well. Let's just always start off what we always do. Tacts talks about the diversity, that with diversity comes secure, as we talk about increasing diversity in clinical trials. This is just a overview of some of our partners, and of course we always like to highlight the ones that have been very supportive. Flow Photography and other enterprises that Flow Photography does. As you can see that there's a group of other organizations, and we like to tell them thank you for supporting Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. So what is our main thrust for Tacts? Well, as we've always stated, the one thing we are definitely about is considering and giving more inference to what is health equity. Now, equality does not mean equity. Equality means that everybody has an equal boxes, even if that doesn't mean that they get to see over the stands. But equity means that everybody gets the boxes that they need. Why is that important, you say? Well, it's important because when we talk about health equity, not your home equity, not your finance equity, not any other equity, when you put the terminology of health equity, this noun in place, what you are referring to actually is the concept of getting the best health possible that you can have. Not your friends, not your neighbors, not your family, you. We're going to actually start delving into, hopefully, a more considerate conversation, if you will, that's going to be on the concepts of individualized medicine. Now, I'm not going to get too much into those details, but there is something to be said about individualized, or what they call personalized medicine, specific medicine, and I'm going to talk to you about what that means. In fact, we're going to, as I'm thinking about it, we're going to really get into some, what does it mean to talk about genetics, what does it mean to talk about genomics, which is the study of that. One of the things I also like to talk about is epigenetics, what has to do with the environment and the placement of your cells, and more importantly, what does that have to do with you? Well, what that has to do with you is that your health is the best asset you have on this planet. Without the health, you can't do the wealth, you can't do the well-being, you can't do all the things that you want to do. Now, I meant to you, guess what? Keeping good health is a job in itself, honey. Believe me, I know. I have had to go through some things myself. However, it is worth the effort because it helps you stay here longer. So health equity is about finding out what is those things that you need in your life to get you to the best health possible, and how is it that you can achieve those through those types of boxes. So yes, that means your health insurance. Yes, that means not just, we use this term called access, but actually getting quality care, getting the care that you need for you, which is how I'm leading into this whole concept of individualized care. On the other flip side is, there are those of y'all that need to be getting a job in healthcare, honey, because healthcare is one of the leading industry businesses that is burgeoning in the future. So that means there's always a way to have income within the healthcare field. I support that, I promote that, and I hope that you will receive that. For those who are watching and want to talk about it, or call in live 312-738-1060. You can talk to our community, or we call our People's Counselor, Mr. Charles Patton there, and we can talk to you about health equity a little bit more in depth. So One of the other things that we really bring up in the health equity triangle, as you can see here, is we always talk about policy change. We talk about what we call institutional change, but actually what I'm bringing to you is the one that is on the right hand side. If you can see it, it says community capacity building. What does that really mean? That means that us individually have to come together as a community, and then we have to forge and formulate and develop what that health equity lens looks like. No one else can give us a solution, which my brother always says, solutions dissolve into the water. I was like, ooh, that's real good. So instead of just a dissolving construct, which means that it dissipates, that means it loses its consistency, then let's do resolve then. What resolve do we have as the community capacity component for building up health equity? Because who's going to benefit? Who's going to benefit? You, your family, your community, and hopefully as we do, well, I said Wakanda, we find our way to go to our city-states. And that's what we call, as our famous ancestor would say, what I would call him, my famous ancestor, Dr. Henry Clark, he called that nation building. And that's what we're doing. Community building is nation building. So health equity is a part of that paradigm. And I want you to understand that if you're not involved in that, then it's going to have an issue for your health in the long term. Okay, I want to again just give you this quick look at the cards that we've got made. As you can see, it says Tacts. I tried to make that a little bit more accessible for you, but Tacts, as you can see, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, we got our new cards. Y'all, we're bringing science to the people. And I want to give a shout out to the people that 4 cards that helped me to get this done. So what is today's topic really about? I'm always going to cover every show. We're going to always keep talking about health equity, but then after we talk about health equity, we always lead into what is our topic for today. It's a hard topic, you all. It's a very difficult topic for me to talk about, but I'm going to have to address it. I'm going to have to deal with it, and that is that we're going to deal with this violence prevention and intervention. This is a public health issue. As you can see, this picture was taken on a Saturday, I believe that was July 7th, and it is the picture of people who gathered to close down what we call the Den Ryan here. They closed down the Den Ryan with Father Pfleger, who was the lead of this, and other community members who helped put this together, who said that, you know, gun violence is enough. It's enough. It's enough. Now, this topic is very hard for us to deal with because we definitely talk about what can you do as an individual. I get it. I mean, you're not the one that's out there. You're not the one that's doing the violence. You're not the one that is inciting this type of emotional baggage that comes with this, and the mental and the stress that comes with it. But it's stressing all of us out. That's why they was out there on the Dan Ryan. There's a couple of things we need to deal with here. I've actually did get some feedback from Truth Be Told News with Mr. Carl West. I'll give him a shout out. In his article, they talked about, again, Father Pfleger being this leader of the people, the shepherd of the flock, if you will. But what I'm going to tell you is that if you have a complaint against Father Pfleger, then do what he does and do it better. Because he is out there. He is trying to talk about these things. He is not a politician. He is a man of faith who decided to stick with a people who have had enough violence and downtrodden in their neighborhoods. Everybody that lives in these west and south sides are not bad people. Bad things are happening to good people. And the gun violence is horrific. But what I want to deal with is the topic of leadership, of who is responsible for stopping this violence, and it's not just Father Pfleger. You are responsible, because that's your people, your children, your family, your community members that's out there inciting this. These young people that are getting guns, bullets, and other things to incite this violence are not getting it on their own. They are getting help from some other adult. That's our responsibility. We need to call out those adults, and we need to make them be accountable and have repercussions and liabilities for their actions. We must have the right perspective. I'm getting a little excited about this because, unfortunately, in the city of Chicago, we have just experienced another shooting. It was done by the police a few days ago. Unfortunately, the young man who they so-called had an issue with for whatever reason, I'm not even getting into the details. The bottom line is he ran from the police and they shot him. They shot this young man. They killed him. Don't tell me about other outside terrorists when we have to deal with domestic terrorism here. It's hard on us when we talk about police brutality because it's a reality that we don't want to face, and that is they shoot before they ask. They don't give you the option. Now, I have to always deal with the fact that this young man ran from the police. Parents, teachers, concerned citizens, lovers of the human race, if you love human beings, or at least consider them human beings, please, let's find a way to dissolve and resolve some of this conflict without having it be to kill a young, innocent black man. Yes, caller, this is Sister Yah. Welcome to this is Tacts calling live. I appreciate you calling in. What can I do for you?
Yes, ma'am. I love your enthusiasm. Let me say that. You know, I was against the march on King to Dan Ryan, but then I saw how well prepared everybody was. No trouble, no nothing. It was a great march. The only thing that was missing were all the politicians who said, they want to help, they want to do this, do that. They did nothing. They didn't even go to the march. But I want to say this about stress. Don't stress out. Why are you going to stress out? You're only going to mess up your health.
That's right.
I learned one thing in the Army. There's two kind of people, the quick and the dead. So if I'm quick enough, I'm going to be alive for a long time.
There it is. So, thank you, sir. That was an awesome statement. Can you say that statement one more time?
About what?
The two people.
Oh, yeah, two kind of people, the quick and the dead. And if you're quick, you're going to be alive for a long time.
There it is.
If you're not, adios.
All right, caller. I appreciate that. That was so inspirational. He said it's two. This man, the caller just called in. He was in the Army, and he had some very insightful advice for us as people. He said there are two kind of people, the quick and the dead. Now, guess what, caller? We all promise death. But if you're quick enough, you can outpace it for a little bit longer. So it's about the timing of our death, not that it's not going to happen. Everything living must die. But we want to do more living than we do dying. So what we're here to talk about with Tacts is how we talk the quality of our living and the violence that I was referring to, this prevention, this intervention. I want us to do more of that. We must have conflict resolution patterns. Young people, stop acting like you're invincible. You have flesh and blood, and your blood is red, and you need oxygen. And running from the police is not the answer, because a bullet in your back can kill you. Whether you in jail, you're not dead. You have an opportunity to fight. And guess what? Survive the encounter, Brother Mike. Brother Mike, I don't like his first name. They call him Killer Mike. Okay, I don't like that part. But I like his message. He says, survive the encounter. We can litigate on your behalf if you still living. We can work on reducing or getting no sentences for you if you're still living. We cannot raise you from the dead if you run and get shot. Now, I don't excuse the police for what they've done, but I would have rathered him not run and rathered him to be right now us litigating on his jail sentence, not talking about his funeral arrangements. That's what it's doing. That's hurting us as a community. These young people are not surviving the encounter, and the police are not giving the right perspective to what their job is. When we say serve and protect, we don't mean serve them up and protect the dead. We mean serve while they're living. You can't do your job right if he dies. You're not giving us what you're getting paid for. But that's my soapbox. I'm not against police, but I'm against police brutality. And that, in my mind, what they did, that is murder. Murder. It is not helping the community. And we need to put a stop to that as concerned citizens. So the first thing we have to do is have some steps in place. If you are accosted by the police, you yield. You say yes, sir, and no, sir. Yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. It's okay. Let your ego go, because your life will still grow. And sometimes we know that you may end up being hurt even if you surrender. Let us fight that battle. As long as you live and we can do it. But if you're not here, we can't help it. So let not your life be in vain. Survive the encounter. That's one of the first things that we want to tell you. The second thing is parents, concerned citizens. We need to do a lot better in litigating these laws that they have in place that are draconian, that are dismantling of the Black and other people of color communities. It is unfair what they're doing. We have been treated wrongly. It is not right. It is a disadvantage to people to keep us in a position because of the color of our skin. It does matter that we are proud Black and brown and yellow people. Just because we're not white does not mean we're not right. And I am tired of this mindset that is us that is the problem. We are not always the problem. You have more guns than any society would ever need for its own people. We have more people in jail. In fact, this is what I do best. Let's get into some statistics, y'all, because this is what I talk about. When it comes to the youth, as you can see on the screen, unemployment, Chicago's is the national leader. It is no coincidence that some of the most violent neighborhoods in the city of Chicago are the ones with the highest rate of what? Unemployment. 43% of the 20 to 24-year-olds of African-American men are neither working nor enrolled in school, according to the Chicago Urban League's annual youth unemployment report that they released in January. Now, I don't, as an epidemiologist, don't mind the statistics, but it means nothing to me if it's one killing one too many. And with this particular caption, it told you clearly that these 20 to 24-year-olds are not working or engaged in any other type of trade or school or anything that helps them to propel their life forward. They're not my future, they're my present, and we are failing them if we don't get them enrolled, if we don't get them distracted into much more productive and sound right reasoning movements. If we don't do that, they are youth. We are the adults. Take your right place. I am tired of these adults telling me what the youth keep doing and you not doing anything to make some type of bridge, some type of mold, some type of pathway for them. Now, I admit we're not going to save everybody. Everybody can't come to Wakanda, but we darn sure can work on it. We can be that difference we want to see. If you're not mentoring a young person, you're not helping a young person's path, you're not sponsoring them through a school or through some type of job employment activity, if you're not doing that, adults, then you are part of the problem and not the resolution. And I don't want to hear people talk about, oh, it's the protection for the complexion, or, you know, we don't have privilege. You're right, we don't have privilege. Now that you know that, what you gonna do? I don't mind that I have to deal with white complexity, because white supremacy ain't an answer for me. I got to deal with this complexity because I also have a complexion for my protection of survival. As a woman, as an African Black woman, I have to maintain that I survive so my children's children's children will survive. That's the mentality. And if you're not thinking at least 5 generations ahead, you're not thinking. So I'm asking my adults that are watching this. The violence is the result of a disease, of an outcome. We are not dealing with the symptoms. We see signs. We see symptoms. But we're not dealing with the root cause, as they would say, the root cause, or as we say, social determinants. We're not dealing with what is really at the root of all of this. And that is, people don't feel loved. That's at the root. They don't feel supported. They don't feel loved. Hurt people hurt people. And this vicious cycle is not ending until some of us are willing to be healers. Y'all, I'm a healer. It's been 2,000 seasons and it'll be 2,000 more. You seers, hearers, thinkers, remembers, you are called to communicate the truth of a living way to a people that are rushing toward death. Caller, tell me how you feel about that.
Hello?
Yes.
How you doing? I called earlier.
Okay.
You know what gets me? All these politicians. We were minority at one time, African American and Hispanic, but now we're the majority. And we're always talking about how we're going to help people. Why don't they help the people that are in prison or in jail, build them a hut or something, and teach them the trade? So when they come out, they'll be able to go to work.
Yes, sir. You're absolutely correct. I can tell you why they don't help them. Because they don't feel the pressure from the people that put them in office to ensure and assure that they do our bidding and not their own. That's why they don't help, because they don't feel pressure from us. We have to be as strong as those paid lobbyists. We have to make the pressure so insurmountable that they think that by not supporting us, they won't get what they need. Caller, thank you for calling in. Again, I want to make sure that people know that we are Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services. Again, we got our new cards out, with Tacts, the Association of Clinical Trial Services, where we're bringing science to the people. I want to thank Mr. Charles Patton, our Vice President of Tacts and the People's Counselor, and my husband. He always trying to claim this, honey. It's not that bad though. But the point is that we are here for you. We are making inroads, and I want you to be inroads with us. Thank you, Can TV, for allowing us to have the opportunity to do a call-in live show. And we hope that you will tune in next week. If you don't have this on cable, you can always hit us up on cantv.org/live. We're here and we out.